Okay, welcome again, everybody, to class. I'm Kelly from Culikid. If you don't know Culikid, we are a New York City-based nonprofit, and we provide healthy culinary programs for people of all abilities. Our programs not only aim to teach cooking, but also social independence and motor skills. Welcome to who just joined us. I'm just giving a little intro to the class really quick, but in the meantime, you can wash your hands and wash your vegetables and gather everything you need for class. Okay, as I mentioned, this class is being recorded. So if you don't wish to be in the recording, you can turn your camera off. We'll also take screenshots and pictures. So if you don't wish to be in those, you can turn your camera off, or you can let me know in the chat that you don't want to be in any screenshots that we share. We find it really helpful to see your screen, so that way we can see what you're doing and answer questions and see what stage everybody's at, but whatever your comfort level is, that's totally up to you. Okay, so you're all muted. We're going to use the chat to communicate, but you can also unmute if you have questions to ask throughout. Typically, if you've done our classes before, you know that we will type the ingredients into the chat too. Since it's just me from Culikid today, we're not going to do that. We also have a small class. So if you need me to repeat anything, just ask. And again, you can ask in the chat or by unmuting yourself and asking out loud. So our next class is going to be February 12th, and it's going to be Valentine's Day theme. We're going to make heart-shaped hand pies with blueberry filling. So that'll be super fun. I'll send the link to register for that in the chat, as well as an email. And then very lastly is if you are cooking with someone at home and they are taking pictures, we would love to see how the cooking process is on your end, as well as your finished products. We love to see how all of your stuff comes out. So share those with us if you take them. I just sent some links into the chat, but again, everything will be shared with you via email tomorrow as well. Okay, how are we doing? Are we ready to get started? Give me a thumbs up if you are ready to cook. Awesome, great, great, great. Awesome, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna use that a lot when we're cooking. So each step, I wanna make sure that we're moving on to those together. So we'll ask for a thumbs up when you get started. So somebody is just joining us right now, so I'm gonna just hold off a second before we start our first step. Hi, Gemma. Gemma, we are just about to get started. You didn't miss anything yet. So just make sure you have your hands washed and vegetables washed if you haven't done that yet. Okay, one more person joining us. So again, bear with me. Hi, Laura, welcome. So we're just, we didn't start the recipe yet. We're just about to. So make sure you have hands washed and vegetables washed if you haven't done that already. Okay. So we're going to start with our prepping and then take a break midway and start cooking. Usually when you're cooking, you do what's called mise en place, which means that you prep all your ingredients in advance and then start cooking. We have some strategic long cook times where we're going to cook in between. So we're going to multitask today, but we're going to make sure that we all stay on the same page and everything's going to go great. So just make sure that you're communicating if you need more time with anything. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is carrots. So everybody, let's grab your carrots. Okay, we need 2. And I will turn this. Oops, hold on. There we go. Okay. I did mention we can use the chat when my screen is like this. It's a little harder for me to see. So if you have something urgent, don't forget, you can always unmute yourself. So we're going to start with peeling them. So I have this Y-shaped peeler. You might also have one that looks like this, that's straight. So if you're doing that, you'll have to probably angle it. Otherwise, your hand will hit into your board. But if you have your Y-shaped one like me, we're going to keep our carrots straight on the board and just peel it down like that. Okay. So we're gripping our Y-shaped peeler like this, if you have the same one, and we're going to peel and then turn your carrot because we have to get all of it, right? So we've peeled and turned, and you go all the way down. So let's go ahead and do that for both of our carrots right now. Okay, so I've got one done. And I'm going to do my next one. And being careful when I'm using my peeler because it is a blade. So we don't have the blade coming towards our hand. We have it going away from us. And we're being really careful and watching what we're doing. You don't have to peel your carrots, especially if they look pretty good. Just make sure to double wash them. Also if you just peel part of it, just make sure, don't stress about it, is what I'm saying. Okay, so that is pretty good. We got our 2 carrots peeled and ready to go. Thumbs up when you've done peeling those carrots. Okay. Awesome. I see a handful. Okay, I see some people still working. Thank you. Joshy, is that a thumbs up or a question?
That was still working.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, sometimes we'll do that too, where if I don't see everybody, a hands up could mean that you're still working. So you're welcome to do that too. I can see a few folks still working. So that is totally fine. I need to grab my knife. The next thing we're gonna do, I'm not doing it yet, but the next thing we're gonna do is dice our carrots. So if you need to get rid of your peels, throw those out, tidy up your space. We'll use the peeler again for the potatoes. So hang on to that. Okay, great job, everybody. Thanks, Gemma. I am waiting, I think, for a thumbs up from Joshi and Rio. Thank you, Joshi. Rio, are you all set? And Nancy. Awesome. Okay, I think everybody's done. Again, if I move on too fast, please flag me down and we'll wait. So we're going to move on to chopping. So we're gonna try to cut our vegetables as small as possible so they'll cook as fast as possible. So I'm going to eventually cut these in half the long way, but an easier way to do that is to cut them in half this way first. So I'm gonna start by chopping off the edge here. First, I'm gonna start by showing you how you should be holding your knife. So we're pinching our knife right at the blade, right here. We are not holding it like this. This might feel most comfortable, but it's not the safest way. You wanna pinch it here and then wrap your fingers around the handle so you have a really sturdy grip, okay? And then your other hand, you always want to tuck your fingers underneath so that way you don't cut yourself. So we call that a bear claw. Okay, so now we're going to cut off the edge of our carrot. We don't need that. And I'm going to cut it in half like this. This is a much thinner piece, so I think I'm going to not cut this one in half. So I have this. I'm going to take this wider piece and holding it, sorry, I'm trying to figure out which way you can see. There we go. Holding it on the sides like this, being really careful, putting my knife right in the middle and cutting down long ways. Okay, so far I have 2 carrots that are half moon shape. And this one I said I'm gonna keep circle because it is thinner. So we have these 3 carrot pieces, okay? That was a lot of steps all in one. Does anybody need me to repeat anything? Okay, I'm going to repeat it with the second carrot anyway. So our first thing that we're doing is we're chopping off the edge. Yours might have a little green on it, it might not, but we're cutting off the end and cutting it in half. Okay, taking my thinner piece and setting it to the side. And my wider piece, I'm going to cut in half the long ways. And the way I'm going to do that is by holding it like this. We call this the tunnel. Okay, and we're going to very carefully get our knife right in the middle, hold on tight with our fingers and cut in half. Okay. Oops, did I get all the way through? And then I have, when they're cut, they'll be like these half moon pieces, okay? It depends on the size of your carrots. The point of what we're doing is to go small, okay? So I'm not trying to overcomplicate anything. If you want to keep them all just round, that's fine. We're gonna next start slicing some of these, but we want our pieces again to be as small as possible so they'll cook as quick as possible, okay? When you have your carrots like that into what we'll call planks or sticks, give me a thumbs up. Nice, I see Molly's, great. Nice, Joshy and Denise and Caitlin, Nancy, great, great, great. Joshy, I see you. Rio, I see you. Awesome. We're just waiting for a couple more. So no rush. When you are done, I think Gemma and Gianni, when you're done, just give a thumbs up. Okay, and then while we're just waiting for a minute, I also have a bowl ready for my chopped carrots. So it's just like a smallish, medium-sized bowl where our carrots and celery are gonna go when we're done. So have that handy if you don't yet. Okay. Gianni, are you good with carrots? Great. And Gemma's still working a little bit, or thumbs up when you're done?
My carrot is very thick.
Oh, I see that. Okay, so you might want to cut yours into quarters if you cut it through the long ways, and then each of those halves, cut them in half again as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah, no problem. Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. We have carrots of all different sizes. So again, the smaller it is, the faster it will cook. So that's our goal, but you can have them any size you like. Just keep in mind yours might be crunchier or take longer. And then Gemma, you might also just need one carrot. So I don't know how many you're chopping up now, but since like this is how much my 2 carrots are, you could choose to use less if you have really big ones. It's up to you. Okay, so we're ready for the next step then. The next step is going to be the dicing part or the slicing part. So we're going to start with one at a time, and you should be facing this way on your cutting board, okay? I'm facing this way so that way I can show you. And we're going to bear claw this hand and just slice thin, nice and thin. Okay, so this is how thin mine is. Again, no wrong way to do it, but if we're cooking all at the same time, then we'll just have to keep all those different sizes in mind, okay? Okay, so I've gotten my knife pretty close to my fingers, so I'm gonna slide the fingers down. Okay, and as you get to the edge, you can always choose to just throw out the end instead of getting your fingers too close. So you decide like, I can't do this anymore without gripping onto something. So we can always just get rid of the tiny little edge. Okay, whatever you've sliced can go into your bowl that we picked out for our carrots. And you'll keep going with the rest of them. I'm gonna show you the next time I do it, I'm gonna do 2 at once. And you can choose to do this once you feel comfortable. I've taken 2 pieces of carrots and lined them up together. And we're gonna cut through both of them at the same time to just speed up our work a little bit. But the most important thing is safety. So if you don't feel like you can do this, do one at a time. One second. Oops. Okay, so we're slicing our carrots, nice and safe. You can split the work if you're cooking with somebody, have somebody do some and you do the others, but just use different cutting boards. It's always safest to have your own cutting board. Okay, once you finish some carrots, put them into your bowl so that way your cutting board is clear and organized, and keep going with the rest. Okay, and you're going to do 2 together, slice. And I just have 1 more left. So once I do that, I'll ask you all for your thumbs up too, because I can't look at my knife and at the screen at the same time. So just like you should. As part of our knife safety is that we're always looking at our hands and the knife. Is there a question?
I was doing 3 at a time.
Oh, that's amazing. Great job. As many as you feel comfortable with, go for it. It'll just make it go a little faster. Okay, mine are done. I have cleared my cutting board. Now I'm going to check in with all of you. Thumbs up when you finish slicing those carrots. Okay, Caitlin, Rio, Denise, Nancy, yes, Rio, that was a thumbs up, yes? Yes, and Joshy? I think, Gemma, thank you. Joshy, thank you. How about Gianni? Thumbs up yet, or are we still working? It's okay if you're still working. Thumbs up, awesome. And Molly, I see some chopping still going on, so give me a thumbs up when you are ready. Okay, if you're thinking ahead to the next step, we've already mentioned we're going to do our celery and carrots at the same time. So we're not getting started with our celery yet, but you can grab it. We're doing 2 stalks of celery. And if you didn't already, make sure you give it a really good wash, especially down here. There's usually some dirt that you need to get off. Okay. Okay, you use carrot and celery a lot in things like stock and soup because they add a lot of good flavor. So any of my scraps of carrots and celery, I'm also going to keep in the freezer that can go into a homemade stock. So you can be repurposing all of your scraps if you want. Awesome, Molly, thank you. Okay, next is celery. So let's grab those celery stalks. We're going to use 2. Get them on our cutting board. Let me put this back down for you. And pretty similar here. We're going to start by chopping off our edges. So I'm going to go for like where this becomes a bulb shape, and I'm going to cut right there. Okay. So I'm going to find where it starts to become a stick and cut that off. And same for the other one. Cut it off. Okay. So now we have just our stalks of celery, or stalks of celery. So I also don't want, I personally don't want these leaves in here. So I'm going to cut off these edges here too. Okay, so I've cut off both edges. So that way we have our celery stalks ready to go. And then we're gonna do the same thing we did with the carrots, where we're gonna cut the celery this way, and then we're gonna cut it this way, and then we're gonna dice it or slice it, okay? So I am going to do them both steps. I'm sorry, each step for both stalks at the same time. So I am bear clawing and cutting right in half, okay? So I have smaller pieces to work with, and same one with this one. I'm gonna bear claw and cut it in half. So I have 4 shorter pieces, okay? I'm gonna just demo one, so that way whoever is ready can do it, and then I'll demo another one. So again, you are going to tunnel it, get your knife in the middle, okay? Nice and careful, nice and sturdy. Slice down so you have cut it in half long ways. If you have a thicker piece, you can go ahead and do that again. I feel good about these ones. So this is how big my celery is that I'm going to slice and dice eventually. Okay, I'm going to do that again. It's easier for me when I have it with the flat side facing down rather than where it's going to be all wobbly and less safe. So flat side down, tunnel, knife, right in the middle. And this one was a little wider, so I'm going to do it again. You do not have to do it multiple times. Remember, we're trying to go as small as possible to cook as quick as possible. Now we have our like cactus looking guys with our little twigs out here. So we're gonna do the same thing and kind of just ignore these twigs. We're gonna cut right down the middle here. It's just a little bit thinner at the top. So tunnel. I have to move this out of the way. Sorry. Straight down. And then the last one. So I have a bunch of these thinner celery sticks. When you have those thin sticks, give me a thumbs up. Thanks, Gemma. And Gianni and Caitlin. Okay, so reminder that this is what we're going for. You want them to be as even to each other as possible. Because again, then if you have a really big one and a really thin one, they're gonna cook at different times. So you're gonna end up with one that's really, really soft and one that's a little bit crunchier. So we're trying to get everything to they'll all taste the same, but to also feel the same, okay? Not sure if I missed anybody. Does anybody need more time on this part with the celery? Molly, was that you're all done? Or do you need more time? You need more time? Yeah, okay. Cool, cool. All right, so we will just wait a minute for everybody to catch up. No problem. Then after we finish dicing our celery, which we'll do next, we'll have a break from chopping for a little bit. Okay, thank you, thank you. Okay, Denise and Molly, awesome, thank you. All right, so next we're going to then get them into a dice, which is like our slicing action, but our dice shape, right? So we are lining up, and these are easier because they're not as round. So I'm going to do a bunch together. What's up? Oh, you already diced yours? Awesome. Okay. Well, you just have to sit tight then because you're ahead of us. But great job. We're going to line up a bunch together and slice, and we're trying to go for the same thickness that we did our carrots because we want them to cook at the same time.
I finished.
Great job, Gemma. So when you finish with your celery, you can put your celery into the same bowl as your carrots because they will go into the pot together. Okay, so into our carrot bowl, and then grab your next bunch of celery and start slicing those. Everybody who has finished, go ahead and tidy up your station, get rid of what you don't need. We will still need our cutting board and knife, but we are taking a break for now, so don't get rid of them just yet. Okay, I'm up to my last bundle of celery. Everybody take your time though, because again, you want to make sure you are being safe first and foremost. And when you are doing a bunch together, you kind of have to hold them a little bit more secure so they don't slip around. So definitely be careful of those fingers as your knife gets closer. Make sure you're moving your fingers back, even if you're holding several pieces. Okay, I have just finished my celery. And let's see how everyone's doing. When you're done with dicing your celery, thumbs up, which I see from Molly. I know Joshy and Gemma already did. Denise is all set. Okay, great, great, great. Rio all set. Great. Gianni, awesome. And Nancy, fantastic. Okay. Looks like great, Caitlin, awesome. Great, guys. Okay, so one more, well, it's gonna be 3 more ingredients into one prep bowl before we start with cooking on the stove. So grab a small prep bowl. It can be as small as this. It can be bigger if you have bigger. This is just gonna be for our tomato paste and 2 spices, okay? So it can be really little. We've got small prep bowl. Grab your tomato paste. If it's in a can, grab a can opener. And lastly, grab a tablespoon. Okay, so we've got small prep bowl, tablespoon, can opener, tomato paste. I have an already opened can of tomato paste because I used this earlier in the week, but I'm going to show you with my open can how to use a can opener for those who are using it. I already see at least one can opener, so I will go ahead and do this. I want to make sure, it looks like a lot of people are still moving around, so I want to make sure everybody's with us. Okay, so if you're using your can opener, you want to look at the sides. And so one has like more of a blade. Whoops, down here. This is like more of a blade, and this looks like more of a wheel, right? They're both round, they're both wheels, but this has the edges, this is a blade. That one goes on top, right? So you're going to find the edge of your can, and you're going to, it's kind of hard because it's already open. Actually, I can show you on here, I just won't go all the way. So you're like going to clamp it on your can, and once that it's lined up straight, push down. Okay, push these two handles down. Okay, and you should hear a pop. That's going to be it breaking through your can. Hold on to these tight, clamp these two together, and then give this a twist. There's several different can openers. So this one is the side one, but you might have one that works similarly that latches on top, which would be the same thing where you go like this instead of like this. Okay. So once your tomato paste can, or maybe you have it in a tube, is open, let me know. Molly, is that a question? You have a tube. Awesome. So you'll still do the measuring with us. It'll just look a little different. Great. I also see another tube from Rowan. That's totally fine. Great, great, great. People are already measured. I see thumbs up. I think people are ready. I see Jem is still twisting, I think, working hard to get that can open. We are going to do 2 tablespoons. So we've already pulled out our tablespoon. It's the big one. It's the one that says capital T or TBSP. Just squeeze it in there if you got your tube, level it off, or give it a scoop and level it off. You can use a spoon to get it out, or you can just use your fingers. All right, so we've scooped it out. I've leveled it on the can itself. In case you didn't see, I just turned it upside down like that. We'll grab a spoon and scoop it into our prep bowl. Okay. Gemma, is your can open? Are you with us? Okay, Gemma, I think oh, there we go. Thanks, Molly. Gemma, you're frozen, so I can't see what you're up to, but if you need me to repeat that, just let me know. Okay, so reminder that we're doing 2 of those, 2 tablespoons. Okay. Leftover tomato paste can go to the side. We don't need our tablespoon, but we do need this. When you have 2 tablespoons of tomato paste into your prep bowl, thumbs up, which I already see from Denise, Joshi, Ryu, Molly, Gianni, Nancy, Rowan, and Caitlin, and I see that Gemma is scooping. Great job, everybody. Okay, so we're gonna also just measure out 2 spices in here before we start on the stove. If your stove takes a really long time to heat up, like my old stove took a really long time, then you could potentially even turn it on now to medium or medium low. Mine only takes, it's very quick, it's gas, and it will heat up like in a minute. So I'm gonna wait, but if you know yours takes longer, you can go ahead and do that now.
Could you repeat that?
So I was just saying, if your stove takes a while to heat up, you can go ahead and put your pot on the stove and heat it up now. But if it can heat up in like a minute, then we'll do it a little bit later. Okay, did you get your tomato paste in? Yeah, awesome. Okay, so we're going to do our garlic powder next. Okay, so this time we need a teaspoon. That's our smaller one, a small TSP. We can do 1 or 2. I like garlic flavor, so I'm going to do 2. I scooped it in, leveled it out, and put it into the same bowl as my tomato paste. Okay, you can do 1 or 2 or somewhere in between. Okay, so I've got tomato paste and garlic powder in the same bowl. Then I'm going to wipe out my measuring spoon because I'm going to use that again. And you can put your garlic powder away. You're done with that. Okay, great job. Yeah, so mine was a big container, so I could scoop in very easily. I see that some people are smaller, so you might have to shake it out or pour it out rather than being able to fit your teaspoon in. So when you've got your garlic powder in, give us a thumbs up. Okay, awesome. Denise, Gemma, Ryu, Molly, Joshy, ooh, too fast. Saw you all, Nancy, great, thank you. Thank you, Rowan, Caitlin, and Gianni, are you good with that step? Great. Okay, so next we're gonna do onion powder then. Same thing, we're gonna just do 1 this time. So I've cleaned off the same one that I used. I get 1 teaspoon, nice and level, and pour it into the same container, same bowl as the tomato paste and garlic powder. Now we're doing this as a little cheat too. So you could do this recipe with an onion or with garlic. Oh yeah, Rio, we don't have onion powder, so can we use double garlic powder instead? If you've already done 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, I think that's enough and you can just skip the onion powder. Okay, awesome. But if you made this again on your own and you wanted to try it with a diced onion and minced garlic, you could do that instead of the powder. So we're just doing it to go a little bit faster today. Once you have those 3, once you have your garlic powder, sorry, your onion powder was last one we did, in your bowl, give it a thumbs up. Nice. Okay, great. I think I saw almost everybody, except I'm not sure. Rowan, are you good? Great. Joshy, thumbs up when you're ready. And Nancy, thumbs up when you're ready. Thanks, Joshy. Thank you, Nancy. Okay, this is where we're gonna start on our stove. Okay, so I have my counter and my stove nice and close to each other, which is easy. You might have a setup where you might have to bounce back and forth. So we're gonna make it work. This is where we're gonna start multitasking. I've got my big pot on the stove. We were using one that uses a lid, but we don't need that right now. So I'm setting that to the side and I'm turning my burner on to medium heat. Okay, so that's gonna heat up. We want, just for now by our stove, olive oil and our carrots and celery. That's all that's going in here. And we're going to cook that for about 10 minutes until they get really soft. So our tomato paste doesn't have to go in right now. Oh, I'm sorry, that one, you also want salt ready, salt and a teaspoon. Let me say all that again. Olive oil, carrots and celery, salt, and a teaspoon. Or you can just sprinkle in your salt and go by sight. Okay. All right, so is everybody ready to start? Awesome. How about this? Does anybody need more time? Is anybody still getting situated and needs more time? Nope, I didn't see any. Oh, Ryu, you need more time?
Can you repeat what you said?
Sure, I asked if you were ready to start putting things in the pot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah? Okay, great. Awesome. So I think everybody's good then. So we're going to start with our olive oil. You can measure out about a tablespoon or you can go by sight. We just want a small coating on the bottom of the pan so things don't stick. So mine pours slower because I have this small opening. If you're going straight from the bottle, it should be a quicker pour than this. I'm going to go just a couple of circular motions around and tilt it to get it all over the bottom. Okay. And then my carrots and celery are going in the pot. Give it a quick mix. I also, when I'm cooking at the stove and mixing things a lot, I have like a little catcher for my spoon so that way I don't put a dirty spoon on my counter over and over again. So I have this little like owl spoon holder. So I'll have that there ready for when I want to put my spoon down. So that's a suggestion for you if you want to keep your kitchen nice and tidy. Once that you have your carrots and celery in, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. Okay, so you can pour it in to your teaspoon, or if it's going to come out too fast, you can pour it into a small container like this and measure it from here like you did with all of your other spices. Okay, 1 teaspoon, and then mix it again.
What did you put first?
I put in the celery and carrots. Did you get that already?
No.
No.
Okay, so oil. Yep, oil, and then your celery and carrots. And then 1 teaspoon of salt.
Okay, so now the salt.
Awesome. All right, and then just mix it again. So again, this is going to cook for about 10 minutes because we want it to get nice and soft. I'm going to put a timer on mine to help us keep track. And what we want to do with this is stir occasionally. So this is where we're going to multitask. When everybody feels like settled, we're going to move on to peeling and chopping our potatoes. Okay, so you're going to continue to cook and your celery and carrots. And you can either go back and forth from your potatoes to your celery and carrots, or you can assign somebody in your house to make sure that they're stirring your celery and carrots while you concentrate on potatoes, okay? So when you are ready to start chopping, peeling and chopping potatoes, that means you're back at a cutting board, you have potatoes and a peeler, give me a thumbs up. Thank you to Denise and Molly and Nancy. Thanks, Gemma.
Do we keep this on medium heat the whole time?
Yes, although it could be medium to medium low, depending on your stove. You don't want it to like fry it and you don't want them to brown. So if you need to turn it down, go ahead and do that.
Turn it.
Okay.
Tell her that we're not using potatoes. We decided not to use potatoes.
We're not using potatoes.
Okay, no problem. So then you can just concentrate on your carrots and celery this whole time then. So yeah, let's start with, oh wait, I'm sorry. Before we get to potatoes, we're gonna do one prep thing just so we're ready for that next step. We're going to make sure we have the right amount of stock for our pot. So we need 7 cups. Bear with me on this, okay? So if I get confusing, let me know. We need 7 cups. Instead of measuring 7 cups, what most of us are gonna do is measure 1 cup out of our container and set it aside, and then we know we can add the rest in. That's if you're using a cartons like this or a can, because they either come in 4 cups or cans are 2 cups. Okay, so instead of measuring 7 cups, we're just going to get rid of 1. If anybody has, okay, thank you, Gianni. And then if anybody has homemade stock, then you can measure at 7. Okay, so all I'm gonna do is take my glass measuring cup, measure out 1 cup and set it aside. And when I say get rid of it, I just mean put it to the side. You can absolutely totally use it for something else. Okay, now I've measured out 1 cup. I'm putting that off to the side to do something else with another time. Now we've got our stock, which is ready to go in, which is for later.
Do we put it in the celery and carrots?
No. So you're going to take your 1 cup and set it to the side. You're not going to use that for this. You're going to use what's left in your carton, but you're not adding it yet. We're holding on to it. We just wanted to have that ready for when the time comes. Great question. So we're just setting both to the side. So between these two, I have 7 cups. They're near my stove, ready to go when I need them. And my 1 cup is out of mind. It's for a different recipe. It will be thought about later. Okay. When good with that? Okay, when you're done and ready for those potatoes again, thumbs up so we can get started on potatoes. Okay, great. Denise, Caitlin, Molly, Ryu, I think Nancy. How about you, Gianni? Ready for potatoes? Rowan, great. I know Gemma's not using. And then Joshie, are you ready for potatoes? Great. Okay. So I am now going to demo how I'm using this straight peeler instead of the wide peeler, but you can use that for this as well. For our potatoes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it in my hand and I'm going to peel half of the potato away from me and turn it, and then I'll flip it and do the other way. Okay. You can, like I said, if you have the wide peeler, you can do the same way we did with the carrots. You'll just have to move it around a little bit to get the edges. Okay. You can also put it, put it down if you need to sturdy it. But we are peeling away from us because we don't want to bring the blade to us. Then once I have half, I'm going to switch my hand grip and do the other half. You have to hold on a little tighter because it's a little more slippery. Okay, so this is what my potato looks like. I have like a little bit of like stuff going on, but it's not a big deal. That's fine for me. I'll set that to the side. I'm going to give this a mix. And I'm going to peel the next one. And then flip it and peel the other half. Okay, again, doesn't have to be perfect. I've got some little spots on here, but that's okay. You can eat the skin of your potatoes, so it's just a little better without. All right, so I've got them peeled. I'm gonna clear out my potato skins and throw them out, and then I'll come back and check in with you all. Okay, when you have 2 peeled potatoes, give me a thumbs up. Great. Caitlin, Denise, Molly, Ryu, Gianni, Nancy, did you finish? Awesome. Great. I know Gemma's done. And then I think I'm just waiting for a thumbs up from Joshie and Rowan, which is no rush. Just let me know when you're done. And everybody else, check on your carrots and celery. Okay. My timer has 1.5 minutes left. So instead of starting to chop our potatoes, we're just going to wait on that. And so we're going to focus back on our stove for a minute. We're going to do our next step at our stove in just a minute. And hopefully Joshie and Rowan will be with us at that time. And then after we finish up at our stove, we will finish chopping our potatoes. Remember, today we're doing multitasking, which is a little tricky. Don't get stressed out. If you have a question, ask. Thanks, Rowan. The next thing to go into your pot will be the bowl with the tomato paste. We're gonna wait just a couple more seconds for that, but just keep in mind that's what's going in next, so be ready. Thanks, Joshie. Perfect timing. I'm turning my timer off and we're getting our next ingredients in our stove. So that is your tomato paste and spices. We're gonna put it in. You probably need that spoon again to get it out. And then give it a mix once you get the whole thing in. It should start to smell really good. It's just slightly hard to mix because you don't have any liquid in there. So just do your best. We're gonna get our stock in there soon. Let me see if I can move you over to my stove for a second. Okay, so if yours is all clumped up like mine, don't worry about it, but I'm like kind of breaking it up with my spoon a little bit and just trying to get it all combined. And that's pretty much like what the best you're gonna get, right? So it's not liquid yet, so it's not gonna be all combined. Once you have it combined enough, we're gonna add our stock, which we've already portioned out. So we're doing 2 cartons of these minus the 1 cup we just pulled out. If anybody's using cans or needs, more information on that, let me know. Okay, so I'm doing a whole carton, which is 32 ounces. Okay, so that is 4 cups so far. I'm gonna just give it a mix and then I'm gonna add the rest. I'm scraping the bottom so that way any spices or vegetables or anything that was stuck to the bottom is coming up into the liquid now.
Do we add the paste and then the broth?
That's correct. So you add your paste and spices, give it a little bit of a mix, and then add your broth. Yep. Good. So far, all I've added is 4 cups. So then I have my other container, which I've already taken 1 cup out of. So it's 3 cups going in. So that's a total of 7 cups. Sometimes you have to do a little bit of math in cooking, but it makes it a little bit easier than sitting here and measuring out 7 cups. Okay. Once you have done that, and by that I mean you've added your tomato paste and you've added your stock, mix it, and then turn your heat up all the way up if you can without the flame going over, because we want to bring this liquid to a boil. Okay, a boil means big rolling bubbles, and you're going to get that with the high heat. I am going to tidy up and move my computer back so you can see my cutting board. So once that you have done your stock, turned up the heat and all that, move back to your cutting board so I know that you're ready, or give me a thumbs up. And I'm going to also cover it because this is going to speed up the boiling time. So if you have your cover, you can put that on now too. Keep in mind when you take your cover off, because this is metal, it will probably be hot to the touch. So you want to have a pot holder nearby. So we're just going to let that boil. And I will reposition you all over here. Oh, okay, no problem. Maria says they have to go, but they're going to finish it from the recipe. So no problem, have fun. You're set up for success, and hopefully you have some delicious soup later. For everybody else, so we are planning to hopefully be done by 4:30. So if you gave me a thumbs up before, I didn't see you because I wasn't at my computer. So if you're ready to chop potatoes, give me a thumbs up. Great, thanks. Denise, Caitlin, Joshy, Gemma, yeah. Oh, you're not doing potatoes, so you can still chill. Molly and Gianni, you ready to chop? Yeah. Nancy and Rowan, let me know when you're ready as well. Great, thanks, Rowan. By the way, so we're going to cut these, cube them as small as we can also, maybe not as small as our celery, but small so they cook fast. And you can leave your cut up potatoes on your cutting board and put them in right from there, or you can have a bowl for them to go in so that way you clear off your cutting board. So if you want to, have a bowl nearby for your potatoes. Nancy, are you ready for cutting potatoes yet? Awesome, great. Okay, so I am going to, lock that in and tilt this down. And so we're going to do similar idea. We're going to start with a slice, okay? So we're going nice and thin. So it's about like 1/2 inch maybe. So a way to tell is actually for adults at least, the length of your fingertip is about 1 inch. So if you need help eyeballing, it's about half of that. So about half an inch. Again, that's to get these to cook quickly. Potatoes take a really long time to cook. So that's why you want to go thin and maybe not as big of a dice as if you were like mashing potatoes or something. Okay, so we've started with slices. Potatoes can be kind of hard to cut through. I know you guys just did carrots too. So just do your best. And I'm going to do my next one. You want it to be, even if they're not the same to me, you want them to be the same to you. So you don't end up with some raw potatoes and some cooked potatoes. Okay, and I've got my 2 potatoes sliced. When you do, let's see a thumbs up. Thanks, Denise. Great job, everybody. I love Caitlin's tool that you're using. That looks so good. Yeah, potatoes are tough to get through. I see all of you hard at work, so keep going. You're doing great. If you're great, Gianni, thanks for that. And was that a thumbs up from you, Rowan? You still chopping? It's good.
Do you
Great.
want the soup boil?
What's the question?
Do you want the soup on boil?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so your soup should be set to high. And if you have a lid, that will help it boil faster. So you can put your lid on too. Great question. And I see a thumbs up from Joshy too. Nancy, thumbs up, great. And Molly, great. Was that everybody? I think that, what about Caitlin? Awesome. Okay, so I think we're ready for the next step. So now we have these discs of potatoes and we have to cut them into cubes. So we want what we're cutting to be like the same width as what we just cut. So that way they're cubes, right? So we're going to cut like this. And then cut them like, turn those sticks and then cut them like this. So this is what I end up with. I'm going to show you that plenty more times because I have a lot. And you can stack them too, but we'll get to that in a second. I'm going to do one at a time for now. I'm starting with sticks. Then I'm going to cut those sticks into cubes. Okay. One more on its own before I start stacking. Sticks lengthwise. I'm turning the sticks all together in the opposite direction and cutting again. So the key here too is that I'm turning the food, not turning my knife. You should always be with your knife right in front of you and having great posture, and not like going to the side and everything. Like you don't want to get too dangerous. All right, so now I'm going to stack them. So I have 2. I'm going to start out with 2. I'm going to cut them together but they can slip. So we're going to be nice and careful, just like we were with the carrots and celery. Go a little bit slower if you have to, or just stick with cutting one at a time. Okay. Now remember, when you get to the edge, you have these different size potatoes because your potatoes get smaller at the end. So I'm cutting them a little different. Like mine are really small at the end, so I'm just cutting them in 4s. Okay. And then when I get to smaller rounds, I'm going to think the same thing. So maybe instead of doing 4 across, I'm going to do 3 across. And if you're stacking them, remember to be careful because they could slide. So make sure you have a good grip on your potatoes and a good grip on your knife. Okay, I'm on to my second potato. Great job, everybody. Okay, I've got 2 more stacks and then I'm done, and I'll check in and see how you all are doing. My soup is next to me, so I'm also aware that it's boiling, which is great. What we want next, it can sit there at the boil for now.
Does the potatoes have to go in the soup yet? The potatoes?
They will go in next, but not
Okay.
just yet. We're gonna wait for everybody to make sure we're all together. Great question. Okay, so when you are done chopping your potatoes into your dices, give me a thumbs up. Denise, Nancy, Gianni, Joshy, great. Gemma, I know is done. Rowan, great. Okay. Molly, awesome, great. And I see Caitlin getting the last into their bowl. Caitlin, are you all set with potatoes? Great. Okay, everybody is all on the same page. So potatoes are going to go in, and so is another teaspoon of salt. Okay, so have that ready too. We're gonna come back to our stoves with a pot holder. Take our lid off. Mine is boiling. I'll just bring this over here really quickly to show you. So that's what we want. That's a really good boil. and it smells delicious. And I'm going to put my potatoes in nice and careful that I don't splash the hot liquid back up at me. Okay, so be really careful. Okay, potatoes are in. And then we're going to do a teaspoon of salt. Sorry, teaspoon of salt are going to go in with those potatoes. So we're going to measure out another teaspoon into our pot. If you want, you can give it a mix. Okay, you can put all of your salt away. We're going to, I'm going to set a timer on my end so we know for 10 minutes, and then we're going to check our potatoes. And then we just have 2 more ingredients that we need to prep together.
And the beans.
Say that again?
The kale and the beans.
That's absolutely right. The kale and the beans. And then those are going to just go in when we're ready. And it'll just take 10 minutes just to cook on that. So we might probably end when we are, when we put those in. And then it will be like, sometimes if you baked with us, sometimes we let something go in the oven together. And you will take it out on your own. So depending on the time, I think it's most likely, yep, that you're going to, we're going to end class once we add the beans and the kale. So let's start with our beans. I have to adjust my stand. There we go. Okay. I have this 29-ounce can of beans, so I just need 1. If you have those regular size cans, the 15 ounces ish they usually are, you'll need 2 of those. So mine has a top. I see Gemma also has Goya, which has the top. So we're opening this a little different than the last time. If you need the can opener, remember to do it just like we demoed last time, where you latch it on top, squeeze it down, and twist. For this, we are going to pull this. So you start by pulling it up like that, and then you have to pull it backwards. So you might need a lot of muscles. Oh, this is actually easier than last time. All right, open it up all the way. Okay, great. So if you need somebody to help you, ask for help. You might need some muscles on that. I'm just clearing off my sink space because I'm going to turn you around in a second. We're going to use this strainer. You could use like a colander or something like that. We're going to dump our beans in here and rinse them because we don't want all the liquid that they're sitting in. So
Okay.
I'm over my sink, right? Because we don't want to dump it onto our counter. Dump it in. I'm going to turn on my cold water and rinse it. And there's still some in here, so I'm going to rinse into my can and dump it in here too. And now I've gotten all my beans out. Remember, I have the 1 can, but if you're using the smaller cans, you'll need 2. Okay, so those are good to go. I am going to leave this draining in my sink. So I'm using a bowl underneath, or if your sink is clean, it can just sit on the bottom of your sink. I'm going to turn you back around and we're going to work on our kale. Okay. I'm going to clear off my space just a little more, a little messy here. You can grab a bowl for your kale as well.
What do we do with the beans?
After you wash them?
After you wash them?
So you're just going to let them sit somewhere. So they can sit in your sink or over a bowl. They're going to go in when the potatoes are done. You could actually, So you could put, well, you'll put them in with your kale. So when your kale is ready, Gemma, you'll put them in, okay? So they're just going to the side to drain. Good?
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Does anybody have any more questions on the beans? All right, I'm gonna get started on the kale just because I will repeat this action so many times that even if you're not exactly with me, it's totally fine. I've already rinsed my kale and we're gonna do what's called de-stemming, which means we don't wanna eat this tough stem. And we wanna tear it into little bite-sized pieces along the way. So it depends on how you find this easier, but you can tear a whole leaf off the one side, and then you have half of your kale, and then pull it into bite-sized leaves. So that's one option, or it might tear as you're pulling it off. And so you could just tear off bite-sized leaves from there, okay? So this thick stem is just a little bit tough to eat, so we are not gonna eat it. We're gonna eat all the good leafy parts. When you are done with your stem, you can just set it to the side. We're putting our bite-sized leaves into a bowl. You could also do the soup with spinach. So if you wanted to substitute spinach or baby spinach for your kale, that would be a good option for you too, to add some greens. Okay, and we're gonna do the whole bunch of kale like this. And let's see. All right, we got 4 minutes before we check our potatoes. But there is no rush. Don't feel like you have to have all of your kale done by then. You can put in your kale whenever you're ready. Oh, great question. Sorry, I just saw the chat. I don't know how long ago that was. Gianni, I'm using, so mine came in a bunch, and if you're, probably a whole bag. So I'm using like a whole bunch of kale. So this is how mine looks like. So if you have a bag, like you could use the whole bag of that. And it also depends on taste. They also come in like those plastic bins sometimes. So if you like super love kale, go ahead and add more. If you don't love it as much, add less or don't add any.
The beans go in now.
We are gonna wait for the beans to go in. The beans are gonna go in with the kale.
Got it.
So set them onto the side. Your beans are already cooked, which is why we're waiting. We don't want them to become too mushy. So yeah, hang on to those. They'll go in with the kale in a few minutes.
What do we do once the soup is boiling?
The broth.
The broth.
So Gemma, since you don't have potatoes, is your kale done?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Since you
Yeah.
don't have potatoes you're waiting to cook, you can put your kale and beans in now. I'm talking to Gemma only, who is not waiting for her potatoes to finish cooking. Right? So everybody else put potatoes in. We want them to cook first.
Drew, wait to put the kale in?
Yes, Gianni, because we want the potatoes to cook first, and we still have 2 minutes before we check on the potatoes. Okay, because if your potatoes are were chopped very much bigger, they might take a little extra time, and you don't want your kale and your beans to really overcook. It's okay if they do, but what will happen is your beans will get a little too mushy, and your kale will lose some of its brightness and greenness. So we're gonna just wait and check our potatoes together. Speaking of which, even though we're still pulling our kale, we have 1.5 minutes before we check our potatoes. We check our potatoes by sticking them with a fork. Okay, so if you want to prepare yourself for that, grab a fork, get ready to use some stove safety.
How long do I cook my
Oh, great question. 10 minutes.
Do we bring it to a
Okay,
boil?
10 minutes.
To a boil.
Yeah, it can still be cooking at a boil. You can turn it down to like a lower boil if you want to do medium high or medium heat. You just want the kale to wilt really, and the beans to heat through.
Okay, and do we cover it or not cover it?
Do we cover it or no?
No, you don't have to. You can leave it open. Good question.
Okay, so do we keep it on?
Okay, so I'm going to stop after this kale leaf to check the potatoes.
Okay.
So to check the potatoes, we're doing a fork. So I have enough control that I can stick this fork in and just kind of stick a potato with it, or actually it wasn't actually going through. So I scooped one out and I'm going to stick it with my fork here. So see, my fork went through and it looks a little bit soft. There should be no, what I'm going to call give to the potato. If the potato is hard to get through, it still needs to cook. Okay. But as far as testing it, if you can't stab it right in the pot because you're too close to the edge or you don't have control, scoop it out with a spoon, put it down, and then test it with your fork. Okay, so you can see this one goes through nice and soft, right? So they are done, which means that our kale and beans can go in, but I'm not quite done with my kale, so I'm going to keep going. Did anybody finish tearing their kale? Yes, a handful. Oh, great. Okay, already pre-teared. All right, so I see some did and some are still working like me. It's up to you. If you want to go on your own, go ahead and put your kale and beans in if they're ready. If you want to go on at the same time, then we can just wait a few minutes until we're all together. I myself just have a few leaves left.
It still needs a few minutes with the potatoes.
Your potatoes? Okay, great. So that's definitely why we checked them. So go ahead and set a timer for when you think you want to check yours again, depending on how hard they were, and then check them again, and then you can add your kale and beans.
Okay.
Did anybody else's potatoes need more time? All right. I have 2 kale leaves left. Last one. Okay, I've got my bowl of kale leaves. Does anybody want more time before we go in with our kale and beans? Put your hands up if you want me to wait on that. Okay, I think I saw a bunch of you go in. I see it looks like Caitlin's ready to go in right now, so go ahead. We're putting our kale and beans right into the pot. And whenever you've done that, go ahead and set a timer for 10 minutes. Great, thanks, Rowan. All right, so kale is going in. And I've grabbed my beans, and my beans are going in.
Because.
Yep.
Because we're gonna eat it in an hour.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So if you wanted to, you could definitely wait to do that. So go ahead and turn your soup off. reheat it. You could also add your kale and beans now and then turn it off and reheat it then. So I'm gonna show you mine. So I'm gonna give it a good mix, right? So we want it to be all combined, and especially to get that kale into the broth, so that way it will wilt and be delicious. Okay, timer 10 minutes. Okay, so that's all that there is to it. When you serve it, you can top it with Parmesan if you're not trying to be dairy free.
When is the next class? The next class?
Yeah, the next class is going to be on February 12th. We're going to be making heart-shaped hand pies, which is just like a pie, but it's like little. Okay, so it's February 12th. I'll resend you the link that you can find that class information on. I'm putting it into the chat right now. One second. Okay, so that link right there, culikid.org/classes, is where you can find the link to the next class. And I will also send all of everybody who registered, so mostly the guardians and caretakers, an email tomorrow. And it will have that link there too, so you'll be able to find it. So hopefully you cook with us then too.
Thank you. That was fun.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm glad you had a good time. Does anybody have any questions on how to finish their soup?
For 10 minutes?
Yep, in 10 minutes, it'll be all done.
Okay.
And then you can just scoop it into a bowl and serve it. You can top it with Parmesan if you don't need to be dairy free or vegan. And you can top it with chopped parsley or whatever else. Eat it with some bread or just eat it plain. Okay, great job today. Guys, today was a really hard class. We chopped a lot, and multitasking is a really hard thing to do. So great job, everybody. You should be really proud of yourself. Does anybody have any questions before we go? Oh, thanks, Nancy. Ron, do you have a question?
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm so glad you joined us. Thanks, everybody. All right, go and enjoy your soup. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and we'll cook with you all soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. See you soon.